The opinions expressed on the Custody Queen Show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal, professional legal advice. The persons discussed are fictional and not based on actual clients.
Thought it was love, had kids in between. You can count on us, we're the Custody Queens. Yeah, you can count on us, we're the Custody Queens.
Do you know what time it is? It's time for the Custody Queens, the best part of your Saturday and the best part of my Saturday. I'm here with Samantha McBride and Kristen Holstrom, the Custody Queens, and I'm producer Cam, and we have a show of more listener emails because they just don't stop.
All right, let's do this. I'm here for it.
So am I.
All right, we're just going to get right in. We're just going to jump right into the questions. Okay.
We have so many, and we love getting them, so keep them coming.
Yes, please. I love getting them and sifting through them and picking which ones that work for our show. So let's get started. Angela from Simi Valley emailed, "Hi, my name is Angela, and I had a question. I'm considering separating from my husband. However, I wanted to know, is there a certain amount of time that I have to be married before I'm entitled to spousal support? Thanks, ladies."
Spousal support is one of the most misunderstood areas of law, in my opinion, in family law, especially in California. There are different presumptions in place depending on the total length of your marriage, and spousal support is going to be based normally on a set of factors if you're looking at it on a permanent basis. There are a lot of intricacies in family law, so we would recommend that you call us, the Custody Queens, and we can go through your specific facts.
Yeah, the court has a lot of discretion with permanent support, and what generally, if I was doing a consult, obviously how long have you been married is one of the questions that I would ask. And kind of when you hit the 10-year mark, things change exponentially with respect to spousal support, because there's temporary, which is kind of putting a Band-Aid on the financial issues so that everyone can keep going until there's a final resolution of the case or there's a permanent order. But if you have a short-term marriage, which California considers less than 10 years, then the general rule is spousal support is somewhere around half the duration of the marriage. But that is not a blanket rule that applies to every case. But you don't have to be married for a specific number of years to get spousal support. But the court will also look at how long have you been separated before you filed. What is the financial situation of both parties. But make the call. It's a pretty easy consultation that an attorney can have with you, and then you can kind of put a plan in place, knowing we can run some numbers on the ex-spouse that the court uses, so that way you can have an idea, if you were to separate and leave the house, what your financial situation may look like.
Yeah, and just one extra thing to add to that is, a lot of times people are stressed about the total length of their marriage before separation, but that in and of itself is a fact-sensitive issue. You can't fake that you're not going to separate until a certain period of time. So you really want to get in and know your rights and know what sort of financial help you may be able to get or what financial responsibility you may have in a marriage. So we definitely encourage that. Yeah,
and one last thing, because spousal support is such like Sam said, it's a tricky issue. It's misunderstood. Some people call it alimony. California calls it spousal support. But if you have a prenuptial agreement, that would clearly have an impact on what spousal support may look like, or it may be moot. So there's factors that we would have to go over. Are you still living together and you're separated? That would be a factor that the court would consider when making a spousal support order. So make the call. Call us at 1-800-419-7772. That is 1-800-419-7772.
All right, that was a great answer. I feel like I learned some things, and let's move on to the next one. Ted from Fontana emailed, "Hey, Custody Queens, I am just starting the divorce process. I was unfaithful, and I'm starting a new relationship. Will the fact that I stepped out on the relationship factor into my visitation with my children? Thank you, Kristen and Sam."
Well, hey, Ted from Fontana, you are like a neighbor. If you ever see us at an event, say hi to us. We're always at the Go Country events, and we love taking pictures, and we love talking to all of our fans. So make sure you say hi. So Ted, I look forward to meeting you in the future. But California is a no-fault state, so I wouldn't have so much guilt. You were unfaithful. Marriages, people change, people outgrow relationships. It happens. If it's the end of your marriage and you're moving on, that infidelity is not going to have really an impact on what happens with the divorce. I do recommend that you move slowly with the new relationship if you have kids. I think that would be a question that I would go over with you. You never want to introduce, a new partner 3 weeks after separation to your children. That is red flags everywhere. So, Ted, don't kill yourself over the guilt. It happens. You're in a new transition. You're moving on, and it happens.
Yeah, and just to sort of add onto that, the reality is when you're looking at custody and visitation in family law, the court's looking at a best interest standard. So if you're doing things that aren't necessarily stable for your children's daily routine, that can have an effect. But your personal relationship and how it broke down, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, is not very relevant in the family law forum.
Yeah, I tell my clients that, someone could have cheated 10 times during the marriage, and unfortunately, that really doesn't have an impact. Sometimes if there's domestic violence, there may be some factors that we can pull that may affect the total outcome of the case. But California is a no-fault state, so just be careful how you move on.
And actually, on reverse, if your ex-spouse takes that information and is drilling your children about it or telling your children about it, that may be perceived to be a harmful act that is not in the best interest of your children. So either way, you want to be very careful with how you proceed.
Yeah, I actually have a lot of consultations where I think the person that was cheated on, I think it affects them more sometimes because there's so much resentment and anger and volatility, and they're going to social media and they're going to friends and they're talking to the kids about the case. So it sometimes can harm the person that was actually cheated on because they take that information and they want to tell the court. And in my opinion, that is something that should be left out of declarations, because if you go in there and you file a motion and you say he cheated and he's a horrible person and now he has a new girlfriend and we were married, all of that is pretty much irrelevant to custody and visitation.
Right.
There's so much discretion with the best interest analysis.
Agreed, absolutely.
Are there states where it is a fault state?
Yeah, I don't know the exact number. I want to say it's around 10, 12, something like that.
There's a few, yes.
But there are a few. Yeah, I think South Carolina is one of them.
I think you're right, yeah.
And some of these states require, that you be separated for a year before you can even file for divorce. I mean, some of these states are a little outdated with the law. But, Ted, move on, embrace your new life, but do it with caution if you have kids. If you don't have kids, still have respect for the person that you were married to, and, always respect everybody.
And let love rule.
Let love rule, and call us at
1-800-419-7772. That's 1-800-419-7772.
Okay, I have a fun question now. Carol from Yorba Linda emailed in, "Hello, Kristen and Sam. I love your show and the two of you. I was just wondering, what is each of your favorite legal movie? I'll be tuning in."
Whew. Carol, I was actually born and raised in Yorba Linda, so you are in my hometown, land of the gracious living. So hello. Who doesn't love Legally Blonde? That's a good one for humor. I just love. That's Reese Witherspoon, right? Yeah. It's just a good movie.
Bend and Snap. The Bend and Snap.
Let's do it, Sam. Come on, let's see it.
Yeah.
Let's see it, Sam.
I'd like to see this.
No. Listen, I am such a tall tree that for me to even get up, I might accidentally snap and fall down before I don't have it executed.
I don't want any injuries on set, so
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, but my two favorite legal shows, The Good Wife, love it. That woman is I can't think of her name right now, but she is a phenomenal actress, and man, she would have been a heck of an attorney. And Suits, What Would Harvey Do?
Isn't there a new one that came out too, Your Honor?
Oh my gosh, yes, I binge watched that, and unfortunately it made it through 2 seasons and they're not coming back. But that, he's a judge, but that's not really. Suits is more, you get to really see kind of the legal life.
I love Suits.
What would Harvey do? I mean,
I'm a Louis Litt.
I love Louis Litt, but those are 2 great shows, and I think they both have a couple seasons. I think they at least have 4 or 5. So, grab a pillow, get a fuzzy blanket, put the AC on if it's warm out, and just binge. That is one of my favorite things in the world.
Sam, you have a favorite legal movie?
Uncle Vinny.
Oh, that's
Lincoln
a good one.
lawyer.
That's
My
my
cousin
dad's
Vinny.
favorite.
Oh,
my
whatever.
cousin Vinny. That is my
Close
dad's
enough.
favorite.
You guys know what I meant.
Mine's my cousin Vinny as well.
That is Dane's
it's classic.
favorite classic.
Yes, for sure. Okay, so next one, Lisa from Laverne. Hi, ladies. I listen to the show almost every weekend. I am finally getting divorced. I have a 10-year-old son and a 14-year-old daughter. I have a criminal record from over a decade ago. How will this affect my ability to see my kids? Thanks, custody queens.
So the giant answer is it depends.
Yeah, what is the criminal
Yeah,
record?
so the court may look into the severity of a crime, whether there's a sort of pattern of behavior associated with a crime, and whether or not that could affect your parenting. Obviously, though, the longer the crime was actually committed or the longer the charge was made, the less relevant it becomes. Additionally, if there was maybe some criminal activity that occurred prior to even having the children that you have, the court is probably not going to be particularly impressed by your ex-spouse bringing up this information to say that there's somehow a safety concern. It does depend, though, based on the severity of the crime and how long ago it was.
Yeah, if you were to call me, are we looking at a DUI or are we looking at, a bank robbery? Those are clearly two different things. But it sounds like you've been married for the last, decade, which is post-criminal conviction. And it sounds like you've been raising the kids, I'm assuming, together in the same house. So if your husband didn't have an issue with you raising the kids for the last decade plus, then it would be a far-fetched argument for him to run in and say, well, she's been a great mom for 10 years, but by the way, this happened 10 years ago. Because clearly he probably knew that when you got married and then you decided to have two kids together and you've been co-parenting. So honestly, if I were an attorney, I wouldn't even bring that up, that it was 10 years ago.
Well, yeah, and I would also say, pro tip, tell your attorney quickly if there's any sort of quote-unquote skeleton in the closet that could be thrown at you in court, because we want to know that information to potentially get ahead of it or to protect you. And we the last thing Kristen talks about all the time, the last thing we want to do is be at the counsel table and have someone say, aha, we know this information, and your attorney has no idea what's happened. So that really, really make sure you disclose early and quickly to your attorney.
And it will come out. So get it to your attorney. Again, it's the trust factor when you're going through this process. I tell clients that we are on this journey together and we have to trust each other. And I want you to tell me everything that could possibly affect the outcome, because then I can prepare for it. But if we're walking up to the counsel table, going before a judge, and it's like, by the way, I was convicted of a battery 10 years ago, that information would have been a lot more helpful a month ago when I was preparing, because then I was ready for it. And so just get it out, get it open. It will come out. I promise you, when you go to mediation, most counties do a criminal search in surrounding areas to see if there's anything pending. So if your position is you're going to try to hide it, I guarantee in a divorce, it will come out.
Agreed.
So let me clarify. So the severity of the actual crime may pose, something in the case.
It may potentially. So, if the person, say it was a crime involving like a weapon, and that person has had a pattern of, having issues but maybe not further criminal convictions, then that may be a safety concern. But again, what the biggest thing I would look at in this case is you guys have been married for a significant period of time. You had kids together. You've been raising them together. I'm assuming you've been living in the same house, and the issue was 10 years ago. So it would be hard for that person to say that you're an unfit mother when it happened 10 years ago and you've raised two kids for the last decade.
So give an example of 10 years ago you had a conviction for fraud. Maybe not a great fact, but that's not super relevant to whether or not you can take your child to and from soccer. But say 10 years ago you had a conviction for corporal injury against a spouse. Now we might be concerned that you're not rehabilitated. We might be concerned that there's some other potential safety concerns that should at least be looked at. That doesn't mean you can't potentially be around your children, and you have to kind of explain those things. But yeah, the severity of the crime is going to matter. And again, the length of time that has passed is huge.
Yeah.
10 years is a long time ago, right? But 2 years, probably a lot more relevant.
Yeah, and if someone called me and said I have 3 DUIs, and the last one was 6 years ago, I would get in front of that And I would offer automatically that my client has, and usually we try to get it mutual, but that when my client has the children, that there's no drinking 12 hours prior to or during the custodial visitations. That is me getting in front of an issue that I know that they are going to try to come out and blast my client. If I take the wind out of the sails and I say, you know what, my client has no issue. She agrees to not drink 12 hours prior to or during any custodial visits. So that would be an issue where there might have been a pattern. I'm getting in front of it. It's kind of a moot issue.
Now, just the way my brain works, what about if it was a charge regarding cannabis or drugs, which is now legal but wasn't then? Does that matter? Is that taken into account?
Well, again, I think you have to look at the length of time, the type of crime, and how it relates to custody specifically, right? So the court doesn't want to go down this analysis of, wow, well, it was illegal back then and it's not illegal now. The point is we want children to be with both parents if it's safe. California believes, and I share in this belief, in frequent and continuous contact with both parents, and we just need to look out for the best interest of the children. So if there's a habitual substance abuse issue, maybe there's a little bit of evidence supporting that with a past charge, but that doesn't mean there's a current issue. You don't know until you have the facts of the case and how that's presented to the judge, and certainly what the parents have been doing since then is very relevant.
Yeah, and cannabis is treated just like alcohol or any other, substance that may alter, physically or mentally the body. But if you had a charge 10 years ago for buying weed and you don't have an issue with cannabis, that generally would not pose an issue in moving forward.
I get it.
But, just like alcohol, you can't smoke and drive with the kids in the car. I mean, you have to put the kids first.
Pro tip.
Yeah, pro tip.
Pro tip.
And, I've seen it all. So, remember the cat, Sam?
I will never forget.
What cat?
We were in a courtroom one time, and we definitely saw that there was an allegation that the cat was drinking alcohol, and that was verified. So family law is very, very...
the actual cat was
yes,
drinking.
There was a video of the cat drinking vodka and then passed out. And so when, I say that we've seen it all in courtrooms.
We've seen it all.
We've seen it all. So pro tip, whatever, alcohol, whatever is your vice, do not do it while the kids are with you.
Maybe it was a Russian cat.
I felt bad for the cat.
Don't we all? Okay. All right, next one. Jennifer from Rancho Cucamonga emailed, "Hey, Custody Queens, you two are my favorite lawyers and my inspiration in my legal journey. I've not decided on what area of law I'll practice yet, but I'm studying for the bar. Do either of you have any advice for me? Did you both pass on the first try? Thanks, I'll definitely be tuning in."
Hi, Jennifer. I wish you the best of luck. And if you just want to call us and chat, I have a great referral for a bar tutor. He is phenomenal. I did not pass on my first time, and so I had to learn how to take the exam. I was very smart, and I was able to get through all of my studies, including law school, kind of with my photographic memory and just based on my intelligence. But the bar is an animal that you have never seen, and I could...
Beast, I hear.
It is a beast, and when I took it, it was 3 days, 8 hours a day. You stay in a hotel, you literally are living off caffeine and no sleep. But my problem was I had to learn how to take the exam, and that is the most important. And I have the most phenomenal tutor. His name is Steve Zickman. He is the strategic bar coach. He's amazing. I'm still friends with him today. I did pass the certified specialist exam on the first try, though. But Jennifer, just take care of yourself during that process, because it's a process.
Yeah, and it's a lot of pressure, and that's the thing is, sometimes I think in sort of society today, we get this question a lot, like, did you pass the bar on the first time? Did you not pass the bar on the first time? And it's really just genuinely not an indication of whether or not you're smart, whether you're going to be a good attorney. So yes, you should take it very, very seriously, but it's not an indication of where your legal career is going to go. And I think that is something that we rely too heavily on. Certainly it's a obstacle that you have to get over. With that being said, just take it seriously, and I think you'll be fine. If you don't pass on the first time, the good news is you can just take it again. And then when you're a lawyer, it doesn't matter.
I can tell you that when I am interviewing attorneys, I never ask that question because it means nothing to me. I mean, I think I read an article one time that like the valedictorian of like Harvard or Yale, didn't pass the California exam the first time. And it just shows to tell you how mental the exam is. I mean, it's 17, 18 subjects across the board, and you could know everything, but you might not do well under pressure. You might not. My issue was managing my time, my time management. And so once I nailed that down, when I took the bar and I passed, it was like I was so confident with my timing.
Yeah, and I passed on the first time, but it's not like they send you a letter that says you got an A++. You don't know how much you passed. You go in, you take the test. If you pass, good for you. You're an attorney now. If you don't pass, take it again, and then go be a great attorney. Yeah,
and I actually think people that have, take it 2-3 times, that tells me that they're resilient. That, that tells me that they want this, that they have the passion. I don't think, that person's not smart. Everyone that graduates law school is an intelligent human being on some level. So I look at those people and I say, you know what? That person wanted.
And to answer your other question, what should you do? Do something you're passionate about, because if you really jump into the legal field, I can promise you will lose a lot of sleep. Kristen and I do. And the thing that really gets me up is the part of family law, and I know this is true for Kristen too, the part of family law that's associated with custody, with the hard cases, for me at least personally, when it comes to child abuse cases. Those are really, really hard cases to litigate, and they're tough emotionally, but it's what I'm passionate about. So it's the reason. It's kind of like finding your why. So I think you need to go into an area of law that's your why. If you don't, you might make a little bit of money and be really stressed out and get lawyer burnout. We all get it from time to time, but that's why Kristen and I do custody cases, because we're so passionate about them.
I agree. I couldn't have said it better than Sam. There's so many areas of law nowadays. General counsel, there's personal injury, there's civil, there's torts, there's just so much, and you don't even realize all that when you're graduating law school. And when you become an attorney, that's when the hard work starts. Going to law school and passing the bar, I'm not saying that's not tough, but I remember my first court appearance going, oh my gosh, there is so much I need to learn. Mm-hmm. But that's when it starts. And if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're going to have a miserable life, because being a lawyer is one tough job. So enjoy it, embrace it. If you start in one area of law and you're not feeling it, get out. And if you are interested in custody, Jennifer, send us your resume. We hire interns, we have law clerks, and it sounds like custody might be your journey as well. So give us a call.
Yeah, we'd love to meet you.
And if they want to email their resume, where should they email it?
They can email it to Kristen, and that is Kristen with an E, Kristen at custodyqueens.com. Or you can just give us a call at 1-800-419-7772. But Jennifer, we wish you the best of luck, and going through the process, make sure you sleep and take care of yourself, because if you don't, you're going to set yourself up for failure.
I think that was a really good answer to that question. I think really it's all about joy in life, and we have to find ours and what makes us tick.
Yeah, if you don't have joy, it's really hard to get through the tough days. That's what keeps you going.
Definitely. All right, moving on. Hi, Kristen. Hi, Sam. This is Sarah from Corona.
Woo woo!
Yep, Corona.
My hometown.
Yep. Recently, I'm going through a divorce, and we're arguing over whether or not I'll be awarded alimony payments. I've been the primary breadwinner in the marriage, but David, my soon-to-be ex-husband, could he be required to pay me something? Am I eligible to receive alimony payments in this case? The kids live with me and spend 90% of the time with me. Also, since I was the one who was making more money, will I have to pay him? Thanks, ladies.
All right, we got to make this quick because we're kind of running out of time here. But Sarah, you need to have a consultation with us. You need to call us. Spouse support, we got to run some numbers on the ex-spouse and plug in all relevant incomes and timeshares. There's also child support that may potentially offset any spouse support, but if we put in numbers and say you're making $100,000 and he's making $50,000, then yes, the numbers would likely show that you would have to pay him some spouse support. But how long have you been married? How long have you been separated? Then you put the custody calculations in, and if you have 90% and he has 10%, say that he would owe you $500 a month for child support, and I'm just making up these numbers for illustration, but that may offset or negate any potential spousal support that you would have to pay him. So you need to call us, because this is a question that Sam and I would need to have ex-spouse and ask a little bit more questions. But you're local, so give us a call and make an appointment with one of our intake specialists, and Sam and I would love to meet you.
Okay, that's great. And I want to just put in one last quick fun question to end with this, because I love this question. Nina from Studio City emailed, "Hi Kristen and Sam, I just love you two. I have a fun question. If there was a movie made about you both, who would play you? Thanks, ladies."
I don't know. I have no idea.
You've never thought about it before?
Not really. I mean, I look at some of these actors and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're amazing.
I think Blake Lively would play you.
I was just thinking the same thing.
I love her. I mean, she is rocking the mama business thing.
Yeah, I'd pick Drew Barrymore for me.
I agree.
Yeah, that's a very, very good one.
And for Sam,
I kind of like Reese Witherspoon for me, though. I like her spunk.
Yeah, I can see that.
I love her business sense. I mean, she's a boss lady, but at the same time, she can be totally down to earth and just fun. I mean, and that's kind of how I am, I think.
I think Charlize Theron for
Oh,
Sam.
yes. Italian Job, totally.
Yep.
The adrenaline
That's
junkie.
it.
Yeah. She's always getting it. She's like,
She's a big wig.
She's a
the
thinker.
She's the real deal.
oh,
Yeah,
an Italian
She
Job?
really is.
Wowza.
I think she's an incredible actress.
I agree. And she's absolutely gorgeous, so that's a compliment to Sam.
Well, that was a really fun question. We love getting these questions. Please keep sending them. And I think it's about time to wrap it up, ladies.
Oh no.
I know, they go so quick.
These episodes they go so quick, but please keep sending us your questions. Please keep calling us at 1-800-419-7772. You can ask us anything. I think Sam and I are pretty much an open book. I think if you listen to the show enough, you probably feel like you know us, because I feel like we know all you guys. But thank you for joining us today, this Saturday, and every Saturday on Go Country 105.
And Cam, thank you again for coming to share the day with us, and we hope that you'll come back next time. And if you don't want to come back, we'll still make you come back next time.
Oh, I'm not going anywhere. I'll be right behind the desk in my little chair watching you all.
All right, and remember,
Let love rule.